Hey there, guys. My name's Crystal Clear Mystic, and I'm a spiritual guide and psychic. And I'm going to talk today about what is your purpose? How do you know what your purpose is, right? um, so I want to begin with the idea of what I personally think this is an important topic and enjoy this topic. So I'm a pretty deep kind of person in general. I always have been. I've always been somebody who kind of sees underneath the surface, and that's always been kind of how I roll through life in some ways. I always want to understand why and how and all of the pieces and connect them all and make them make sense. Probably why I was a marriage and family therapist for so long is because my analytical brain really is something that I enjoy understanding things and why, and the human mind and consciousness, as well as mind, body, and soul connection. And I did a lot of body work and somatic work when I was a therapist. And so I want to talk about purpose. And I think that, many people out there are always wondering, what is my purpose? How do I figure out what my purpose is? How do I know if something's my purpose or not? And I think that a purpose can change over time. So I think that you can have a purpose that you work towards and are doing, and then that can shape shift or change into other things. I actually think that's really common because once you get really good at something, right, there's this want or need to learn and grow. It's normal and natural for us in some ways, especially deep thinkers like me, and people who are just more deeper in general. And so this having to try something new and having a new purpose or a new way of doing a purpose, right? That's a normal transitional way of moving through life. And so what is your purpose? How do you know what your purpose is? I guess asking yourself kind of, what do you wish to see more in the world? When you look out into the world and you look at people, what is something that you want to see more of? What is something that you wish you could maybe teach people about or help people see, or things that you would like to see more of, right? And I think a purpose is matched with passion. So understanding for me, for example, I love teaching people how to love themselves. I love teaching boundaries and self-love and balancing masculine and feminine energies. I love watching somebody grow in that way and learning deep confidence, self-esteem, those kinds of things. That is something that I love. And I feel really passionate about that because I know how it feels to stand in your strength and be confident and feel empowered, and how good it feels to roll through your days like that. And I want everybody to experience that. And so for me, it's kind of how do I create heaven on earth for myself, which I've done at this point, right? And nothing is perfect. So I've done it pretty well up until this point so that I can help other people be able to do that, right? Because that makes me feel really happy that other people are happy and other people feel good. And it's kind of sitting there and asking yourself, what is it that's really important to me that I find a lot of value in and that I want to be able to give back? And, I'm sure you've probably done a lot of things that actually are not your purpose, or you figure out you don't want to do, right? And that's part of the journey of figuring out what your purpose is. That is just as important as finding those things that actually do fit, that do feel aligned, that are supported by the universe for you to move forward and do, right? So, you've probably had many experiences of things that you don't want to do. And it's great to be able to pull those things and check those things off the list and say, yeah, not that, right? And it kind of brings you closer and closer to what's actually meant for you and the path that you're actually supposed to be on. And so, I invite you to be curious about What things have you always wanted to try that you just haven't tried? Sometimes this can start with like doing little hobbies and things on the side. A painter. You think the painter knew that he wanted to be a painter, they wanted to be a painter? Or do you think that they probably started painting on the side and then realized how much they loved it and spent time doing it and how much time it took up, and like time passed like nothing, right? And then they decided that that's what they want to do. These things, like, we don't perfectly just know. It's kind of like a trial and error. It's a being willing to like not be good at something or not even really like something and just being honest with yourself with that, and then next, right? Like trying something different. And also I think, different things come up at different points in your life, and you want to do different things at different points in your life. Who wants to do the same thing all the time? Not me. And so, when it comes down to your purpose, it's about asking yourself, like, one question I really enjoy sitting with is, when I was a kid, right? I think about this a lot, and I talk to a lot of clients about this too. When I was a kid, what did I love to do that passed the time like no other? And usually when I think back to that question or ask clients about that question, they are like, oh my gosh, I haven't done that thing in a really long time. I don't even know if I would still like it. Well, why not find out? Why not try? Why not see? Right? So, when it comes down to what's your purpose and figuring that out, it's really about asking yourself, like, what is it that I want to do with my time right now? If you had 10 minutes every day or an hour every day or whatever, what would you love to do and spend your time doing? Because your purpose is probably aligned with that in some type of way. I think one of the things I hear a lot too with clients is like they get stuck in this mindset of what's going to make me money rather than what do I want to do to spend my time. And I think you need to like separate those two. Yes, you want your passion and your purpose to bring income, okay? But to figure that out and find that out, you need to pull that out of the equation and bring that in later, okay? So, if you could just spend time the next hour doing whatever you'd want to do, what are 5 things that you would do right now? What are the 5 things that you would do? And then start doing those things and seeing where they lead and figuring out what that can be connected to. But the way of making money through all of this is something that you kind of tap into later, because I think when you're following that train of thought, it really boxes you in. And keeps you from being able to try certain things. And it kind of like, it keeps you from being able to try certain things. It keeps you from being able to think that there's possibility in other things, right? And life is about learning how to go with the flow of it. The universe wants to support you. And so it's learning flow. It's learning to be present. It's learning to enjoy the right now. One of the questions I've been asking myself a lot, and I always ask myself, is like, how can I bring joy to my life right now in this exact moment? What can I do? And then I go and I do that thing. And the more that you are able to ask that question, follow through with that question and answer and do that thing, the more you are in flow. And the more that things will kind of just come to you and you'll figure things out as they go, right? So what is your purpose? I mean, my purpose has definitely shifted over the last couple of years, I would say. And now I also do a lot more spiritual work in regards to, I'm clairaudient and I'm clairsentient. So I tap into people's spirit guides and give messages and things like that. But a lot of like the basis of what I've always done is to help inspire people to love themselves, inspire people to be better, inspire people to do the things that they need to do. I'm definitely like more of a shadow worker where I help people kind of face their fears, acknowledge what those things are, and learn to walk forward with them anyways. And so, I think it's really just sitting with yourself and asking yourself, like, what do I want to do? And what would bring me a lot of joy in this life? What would bring me a lot of passion? What would that look like? And, just starting to like figure that out for yourself and starting to move in that direction, and everything else will kind of come in when it's supposed to. And it will all make sense when it's supposed to. Finding purpose isn't something that makes sense all at once. Like you pick this thing, it makes complete sense and that's it. Like it's kind of a working script at all times. It's constantly working. It's constantly moving forward. It's not something that's just like, oh, I made this make sense and that's it. It's a constant becoming and a constant figuring out, right? Growth happens where we're uncomfortable. It doesn't happen where we're comfortable. And so you have to be willing to get uncomfortable and try new things and not be great at new things, okay? To be able to figure things out. So what's holding you back? Let me know in the comments what your purpose is, if you know what your purpose is. And if you don't know what your purpose is, maybe ask some questions and I'll go ahead and respond to them. But, and if you do know your purpose, what's holding you back? What's keeping you from doing that thing, from being that thing? Because the reality is your passion is who you are. So you're already that thing. So what's keeping you from aligning to it? Love you.